Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our first session of our Vibrant Club workshop. And today, as you all know, we're going to talk about how to be a change agent and how to get comfortable with the fact that things are so different and we need to be comfortable with change. For those of you who I have not had the pleasure of meeting, my name is Charlene Jarrest, and it's my ultimate privilege to be governor of our district this year. Thank you very much. Now, I understand that some things have been scheduled after we scheduled our program, and that some of you may want to, scoot out at 8 o'clock. If you need to, I think we're going to be okay in terms of time, but if you are concerned about that, by all means, step away and that'll be fine. So our program this evening is going to be directed by Don Wilson, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about him. Okay, in the interest of full disclosure, I've known Don since he was maybe in his late teens, and I just am delighted to see where he is in terms of his career and his life at this point in time. But let me tell you a little bit about him professionally. Don earned his bachelor and master's degree from Bryant University, and he's a 20-year plus veteran of the ever-changing mortgage industry. He earned multiple President's Club's honors as a mortgage loan originator and sales manager at 2 different companies prior to becoming part of the founding team of Province Mortgage Association in 2005. As marketing director, Don coaches mortgage professionals, delivers sales education, and helps to produce creative marketing and community outreach programs. Prior to his mortgage career, Don was a full-time musician, playing acoustic guitar and singing all over New England to help fund his college education. In 2010, Don wrote and produced an album titled Sedated Echo, which raised funding and created awareness nationwide when his son Jacob was born with a congenital heart disease, CHD. His entertaining and simple approach to helping sales professionals, educators, networking groups, and fundraising organizations discover better results inspired him to launch a new venture in 2018 titled Prospecting Intelligence, LLC. Don's passion is about helping people embrace uncomfortable change to create better constants that produce new opportunities. His new sales brand also landed him the role of chapter educator for the fast-growing business networking organization, Networking Group USA, which helps business owners and other professionals build relationships that earn new clients by referral. 2020 marks the release of his first book titled What's Your Whoopee? Simple Strategies on Your Uncomfortable Path to New Opportunities, the subject of which was accepted as an idea worth spreading, landing him as a speaker for TEDx Bryant University. Don lives by the simple credo he's taught his 3 children for years. I try to make a stranger smile every day. So I'm going to turn it over to Don.
Cool. So just a quick mic check. Thumbs up. Can people hear me? Thumbs up. Okay. So I had another bio I was going to give Charlene. It just said fellow Rotarians Don Wilson, but I guess I gave you the long one. I apologize. So just a couple of expectations to start. A few questions. I'm looking for hands or thumbs up. Is it okay if I have fun for the next 40 to 45 minutes? Is that good? Or that's cool? All right. Is it okay for me to challenge you a little bit tonight? I'm good? Okay. Oh, I got the cartoon thumbs up. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
And if I do make something move up here in your noggin, are you willing to possibly take action on something new? Yes. Well, see, that was kind of a loaded question because I know the answer is yes. See, I printed this from the Rotary website and it says who we are. Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million neighbors, friends, leaders, problem solvers who see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe in our communities and in ourselves. So I knew you were going to say yes. I know that wasn't fair. Before I begin, there is something I think we should, like, why am I here? Why Donnie Wilson tonight for part of the Vibrant Club workshop series that she's worked so hard to put together here? Well, it's kind of like one of those good news, bad news type of things. So a lot of people usually want the bad news first. So the bad news, if I were to share, would be, I heard it phrased that, if you had someone close to you that was a Rotarian, maybe a generation or 2 generations ago, it's not quite the same club anymore. So if that's the bad news, the good news would be, well, you still have tremendous history. We're talking 1905, 115 years of history. Think of the results that have been generated by your organization worldwide over 115 years. Not only polio, but so many causes. Think of the power of your brand. It just goes on and on and on, what you have going for you. But perhaps the number one thing you have going for you in this district, which is, I believe, 7950,
Yes.
is each other. It's not only the individuals within the individual clubs, it's all of the clubs within the district. You have the power of the people that have already said, I want to be a part of this organization and I'm choosing to stay because I believe in its future. So here's some other good news. There are people out there right now who are looking for a few things. They're looking for a new way to give back to their community. They're looking for fellowship. They're looking for another type of networking opportunity. They're out there, thousands of them, right in your neighborhoods. And the other good news is that you already know them. I guarantee you do. We just might have to shift a little bit, maybe change our habits going forward, and maybe get comfortable with some things that maybe prior to tonight were not so comfortable. So I like to get right into my presentation and then get a little bit more interaction in the second half. And I've got my clock here and I'm going to pay attention to my time. Now that I'm reconnected to my friend Charlene, I don't want to make her angry tonight. Okay. All right.
Not to worry.
So I'm going to share my screen so you can see a few slides. Okay. So there it is, slide number 1. So curious, anyone out there grow up like me as an only child? No brothers and sisters? Are there any of you out there? I'm kind of scrolling through. I'm wondering if I could see somebody. Oh, I got one. Oh, I see one. Sarah. So we know, Sarah, what they say about us, right? We're spoiled. We don't know how to share, right? Maybe somewhat entitled. Well, look, I don't know about you, but my mom and dad went out of their way to teach that little kid about the power of gratitude. Being grateful for what you have versus always focusing on what you don't have. And for this opportunity tonight, to everyone I've met within Rotary, it kind of started with Art Norwalk and expanded to different groups in 7910 and Charlene with 7950. From the bottom of my heart, I really mean it. Thank you very, very much for allowing me to be a part of this tonight. And as you know, we have to talk about change. So no matter what you may believe as to how this all began, we know that that universe of ours is always moving, always expanding. Mother Earth, always turning, changing, and evolving. I mean, God, we watch our own kids grow up right before our eyes. There are my 3. My oldest on the bottom is a senior in high school. The little girl up top is going to be driving November 1st. God help us. And that little guy right there was born with congenital heart disease, as Charlene shared, in 2009. He's 11 now. And guys, sometimes we don't want to acknowledge the fact that our bodies are changing every day. Proof. There it is. So when Charlene used to come watch me play acoustic guitar and sing with my uncle years ago, that's what I looked like at age 25. And trust me, that hair changing, no doubt. So if we can all agree that change is in the very fabric of our existence, it's organic in our existence, then why is it so difficult for us to change as humans when we want to improve? You want proof? If you have a watch or a bracelet on like me, take it off and put it over on the other wrist. It's like an act of Congress. It's very uncomfortable, even something that simple. So the metaphor I'm about to share with you, I don't know the first time I did this, but I know I was delivering sales training to a group of realtors, most likely years ago. And we were on the topic of asking for referrals. So Dale Carnegie's an old sales genius, and he'd said that 91% of customers would in fact refer their sales professional, but only about 11% ask for referrals, like 1 out of 10. Why? Well, because we're afraid. We're afraid of the outcome of asking for that referral. So we do something a lot more comfortable instead, very common. We get out the business card, you know, the magic rectangle, right? You go, hey, here's my card. If you know of someone who could use my services as a sales educator or a motivational speaker or a coach, you mind passing it on for me? And I ask for nothing. It's like thousands of years from now, if you know someone, pass that on and maybe they'll call me. And in that moment, I said, it's like that movie. I love movies and I love old comedy movies. 1983, there was a movie by the name of Mr. Mom, and I hope you've seen it. If you haven't, it's on all the time. If you flip through the channels, you'll find it. It's a story about a guy who loses his job making cars and he becomes Mr. Mom at home with the kids. Remember, 1983. And then his wife becomes the executive and he struggles. But in his character arc, he gets to this one moment where he's got to sit little Kenny down. Kenny's the one with the striped shirt down at the bottom because Ken can't go anywhere without his whoopee. You know, that security blanket or stuffed animal you had when you were a kid. And he sits him down and he has a conversation. It goes something like this. He goes, Ken, you and I have to have a man-to-man talk here about your whoopee. Whoopee's looking bad, buddy. Now listen, I know you little guys, you start out with your whoopies and all, and they're great. They're terrific. But pretty soon, whoopee's not enough. You know, you're out on the streets, you're trying to score an electric blanket or maybe even a quilt. And next thing you know, you're strung out on bedspreads, Ken. That's serious, right? It's one of the cutest father-son moments I've ever seen. And that's what it's like. You know, I don't want to ask you for business, so I'm going to do something else. It's like the whoopee. And I took that idea and I applied it to all types of concepts in sales and in business and ultimately just to life in general. And I also discovered that many of the concepts in sales apply directly to fundraising, and I did it. I created fundraisers from the ground up many times in my career and have been a part of different nonprofits. So look, I do have a special guest with me. He is here. This is my whoopee. This guy was purchased by my grandma when I was born at St. Anne's Hospital in Fall River. So he is officially 50 years old, just like me. And he had a very boring 50th like me this year, but that's what he represents. Those things we know we need to change to improve, but we tend to keep avoiding it. Why? Because what we're doing is comfortable, just like our whoopee, and change is not. So I always love to use props when I do presentations. And what happened was that whoopee turned into this book that I started writing last April when a couple of people pushed me out in Kansas after a presentation and I did the whoopee. And that's now available on Amazon, the first book I've ever written. And let me tell you something, making music is a lot easier than writing books. So I'm going to share a very fast summary of what's in here. It's called What's Your Whoopee? Simple strategies on your uncomfortable path to new opportunities. I share my stories of success, my stories also of tremendous failure. And I've always gathered knowledge from mentors that I applied into my business and in my life. Okay. So before I do that, one more quick story. Okay. So when I did cut that hair, I got hired by a mortgage company. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I had my master's degree in business. I got hired by this company, Champion Mortgage. You see it on your slide. And behind me, I still have the bag from training, 1997, Diamond in the Rough company. They were all about people. These are not mortgage leads and prospects. They're humans. They were also very in tune with internal customers, which is each other as employees. We have to take care of each other, inspire each other. So I thrived in their model with no training And in 15 months, they gave me my own branch. There may be some people on the call that are kind of going a little quick for that, but we'll see what happens. One night, we were all in a call center. We eventually were selling over the phone. 60 or so mortgage professionals, 6 managers, and a manager of the sales center. And I'm out there doing my thing, motivating, and I'm watching a few senior people just barely trying, kind of dogging it. What I probably should have done is grab them one-on-one, have a chat. Nope, I avoided that. Maybe number 2 idea, grab them as a group. Maybe get another manager, have a chat. No, I avoided that. I ended up doing exactly the same thing as them. I decided to complain to the other managers. And, you know, to walk to their other cubicles, that was a good like 10-foot walk, right? So instead I went back to my own cube and I started to draft that email of complaining about these few people. And I even used words that maybe SpongeBob and Patrick, if you've ever seen SpongeBob SquarePants, would call sentence enhancers. They're not nice words. And I click send. I go, oh, problem solved. God, do I feel better. And then I started to hear some chuckles and some laughter. Because you see, what happened was I didn't send that email to Group Sales Center 5 managers. I sent it to Group Sales Center 5. Everyone in the room. And in that moment of absolute utter embarrassment, yeah, I was aware that I had trouble with conflict, that I probably had been avoiding it for some time, and that I never fully accepted it and put anything into action to get better as a manager. All I did was feel I could just motivate, use motivational quotes, and they'll just listen to me. Wasn't true. Think of this story as I progress through the next 4 slides. The 4 words that I'm going to share, my 4 A's with you, they all begin with the letter A. And I want you to think of these simple strategies as I go through them. Here's number 1. First one is awareness. Now, what is this? Well, it's about discovering why you do the things you do. Why do you say the things you say? And also as it applies to others out there. It's important because you have to eventually discover your stretch zone. Let me explain. So if all of you out there were to hug yourself, and I know that's really odd, but if you feel free to hug yourself if you like, this is your comfort zone. Very little learning happens there or change of any kind. Now, if I took my arms out and I went out to here, beyond this area is the red zone. Like that's pure terror. That's something stretched way too far. But in this little middle section where my arms are extended, that's the stretch zone. That's where change and learning occurs. My mentor taught me about the DISC assessment years ago. That is a personality profile based on 4 traits: D for dominance, I for influence, S for steadiness, C for compliance. And all of us lead with one of these styles. All of us. But you have to discover your stretch zone. Let me explain with a couple of examples. Let's say you're that analytical type of profile. You're task-oriented, maybe somewhat introverted. You don't like the stretch zone if you're an analytical, but will you go there to change and learn? You might. But for you, it's all about why. It's got to be logical for me to do this. Now, how about if you're one of those amiable, maybe shy, also somewhat introverted, more process-oriented? Guess what? You're not digging the stretch zone either. Will you potentially go there to change and evolve? Maybe. But for you, it's all about how. You need the steps. Now, if we have any drivers on the call, you know, those A types, they go right through the stretch zone, right to they're not afraid of anything. In fact, they have to learn patience for the people in the comfort zone sometimes, but they still have to change and learn too. For them, it's all about what? What's in it for me if I change? More members? A better club? Lastly, that expressive personality type, as you might surmise, is me. We love the stretch zone. I ended up buying a condo there myself. But for us to learn and change, and I've changed many, many times in my career, for us, it's all about who. It's all driven by people. But once we start to become more self-aware about our style and why we react the way we react, think about 2020, how we reacted to the pandemic, how we react to what's going out there. That understanding is valuable. But we got to get to that second word, which is acceptance. What is this? Well, we all have maybe the good, the bad, and maybe the ugly about ourselves that we're not thrilled about. And it's important because you have to start to get your brain around the difference between that conscious and subconscious thought. And when I lay this out to people, they go, Don, where do you even start with something like this, with self-acceptance? A mentor taught me this statement. You can say something like this to yourself. You can even, put your arms out like this and you can go, I completely and fully accept everything about myself. Does anything bubble up? Good place to start. You can even say as a Rotarian or as a business professional, add whatever you want at the end. If something bubbles up, it's a good place to start. So the best way to share what I want to present is with my golf game. I know someone played golf today. I think it was Lori who played golf today. I've been golfing since the age of 3. I played Division II college golf. I was a pretty decent player. But anyone who's played golf with me in the last several years knows I can't putt anymore for some reason. I mean, I was missing putts like this big. Why? Well, I could do all the affirmations I want. There's a reason why daily affirmations, they're wonderful and I use them, but they tend not to work for change. I'm the best putter. I'm the best putter. I'm going to teach Tiger Woods how to putt. I'm so good. And subconsciously, your brain's going, no, you're not. You've been awful for several years and you're probably going to miss. And that type of subconscious thought, that part of your brain that tells your heart to beat, but you don't have to think about it. It just does it. That subconscious is literally radiating down your neck, down your arms, into your hands, and a bad putting stroke, and you miss. So I had to change something. This is one of my stress releases, and I can't keep buying putters. I mean, these things are not cheap, and they're not fixing my problem. So you know what I changed? I changed my grip. 50 years old, I took my grip from this I've been doing since childhood to this. It's called the claw technique. You want to talk about ridiculous and feels weird? And I said, I'm doing it the whole season. I did it all of last year. Create the habit, whatever happens, happens. What happened? Am I the best putter in the world? No way. Did I improve? Absolutely did. Because for the first time in years, subconsciously, that part of my brain is going, yeah, man, you might be able to make that. And it's a much better putting stroke that I have now. So there are many mechanisms for self-acceptance. I'm going to give 4 to you quickly, but some of these have become absolutely paramount in 2020. Things like guided meditation, relaxation breathing. On your phone, there are apps. One of them is called Calm. It's free. Things like EFT, emotional freedom technique. This is thousands of years old. It's tapping on acupuncture points on your body. Looks and feels ridiculous. Didn't believe it. Then I started to research what it's done for brave women and men with PTSD from the military, and had a friend using it. I started to use it. Or even personal coaching. The right coach will learn your behavioral profile and style and match you up with the right techniques. Because think about it. Until you really start to accept those spun off parts of yourself you've been avoiding for quite some time. This could apply to you as even a club member or a chapter. Those things that we resist, they persist. It's very, very difficult to take action. The first step. I always think of meaningful goal setting when I talk about action. But it makes me think of a friend of mine. Her name is Dina. She's a mortgage pro. And we were training on that actual referral ask years ago. And our company president said, listen, guys, you're straight commission sales professionals and mortgage professionals. If you don't figure this referral ask out, you're not going to have a very big number on that W-2 at the end of the year for income. So Dina had made that decision, like, I am doing this. I'm doing it tonight. I have an appointment tonight. I'm going to ask. So around 11 o'clock at night, my phone rings. It's like one of those, like, who's going to the hospital type of phone rings. It scared me. And I go, oh my God, Dina, are you okay? She's like, I am mortified right now. I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. What's wrong? She says, well, I asked for referrals, just like you said. And I'm like, wow, good for you. She goes, not good. Well, why? What happened? She goes, well, I decided in that moment I was going to ask. So I was doing the paperwork with the client and I grabbed their W-2 and I held it up like this and I kind of shook it. And I said, you see these? I don't get a very big number on my W-2 at the end of the year. So would you mind referring me the people you know? And I was like, whoa, that's a little aggressive there. I said, well, what did they say? She goes, they said nothing at all. I'm like, oh boy, what did you do? She goes, their dog was sitting under my chair. I just decided to pet their dog for the rest of I didn't know what to do or say. So she had to work on her language. But first steps are about meaningful goals to me. I don't know if you guys know this. Research supports that 92% of people who create New Year's resolutions fail. Think about that. Think of the many, many people you care about that may have a resolution of something they want to succeed at, change at, and they will fail. Why? No thought process behind it, no meaning behind the goal setting. In fact, only about 3% of people even really set them. So when I do it, I do them in one page, 3 sections. One page is all we can handle these days, it seems like. Section 1, what do you want and why do you want it? Think of the goals for your club or you as an individual member. That's where the numbers are, but that's where the people, the places, the things that matter most to you. How do you want to feel when you achieve it? It's in section 1. Section 2, well, where's that going to come from? For example, if you set a growth goal for memberships or members that you'd like to recruit to your club, well, where's it going to come from? You know, think of the different sources. You should really figure that out. Section 3, what are the keys to success? Now that is, in fact, the things that you do indeed do very well, that you should maybe do more of. But that Whoopi, if you don't already know what it is, if he's coming into focus, that's where he lives. That thing you know you need to change to improve that maybe you've been avoiding for quite some time. Because the reality is, once we take step number 1, you have to keep taking them. That's accountability. Now, in my professional career, this is a word that people love to drop over and over, but very few people really do it well or even understand what it is. Why do individuals struggle with accountability? Well, if goal setting is avoided because that's attached to measuring goals and timelines usually, accountability is avoided because that's attached to potential failure and consequences. Easier to avoid. Leaders struggle with accountability because they're afraid to have that very clear, concise, critical feedback conversation. Because they make it all about themselves, about the person they're trying to help improve, and they don't want that negative connotation upon themselves, so they avoid those conversations instead. And how can you improve without critical feedback? So I'll give you 2 ideas for accountability, this last A word. Number 1, if you know what you want and why you want it, it should be everywhere. On your phone, on your laptop, up on your workspace, in your car. Just so you know, I walk the walk. This is my vision board, it's called. Everything that matters most to me is on this. And I change it all the time. Because the reality is you are going to fail. And you are going to have adversity from time to time. But until failure and adversity become your allies, you tend to always be the victim, especially when it comes to being accountable. Second thing, get an accountability partner. I'm a big fan of this, especially within clubs or networking organizations, and they have growth goals and they're trying to recruit or invite. I always think of my best friend in the world. His name is Matt. We got together on his birthday last year, me and my other best buddy, Jim. And Matt's like, that's it, man. I got to lose weight. I got to get healthy. So he found a calorie counting app on his phone that was simple to use, and he recommitted to the gym. But before he went in to work out, he would text me and my buddy Jim, sauna. He went into the sauna first, a couple days in a row, sauna, a couple weeks in a row, sauna. No pictures from the sauna. I don't want that. Months in a row, sauna. At the end of last year, he's down 65 pounds. And even through COVID and having to change his routine, he's almost to his goal weight now. He's almost up to 90. We were his accountability partners. I've had several of them, okay? Because there's no need to go this alone. But if you can keep taking those steps, the reality is it's all about ultimately what becomes your habits. This is not a magic wand. You know, sometimes I say, you know, I don't have a magic wand for you guys, and I don't, but I actually do have one. My son made it for me, but it's not a magic wand. Okay. I can't just go like this to each one of you, and next thing you know, magically things are going to change. But when you think on these 4 words as they build upon each other, it's ultimately about habits. And that's why I use the pi symbol. Charlene mentioned my little company here is called Prospecting Intelligence. So it's PI, pi. And other than being very, very delicious, pi, that symbol is 3.14. It's a mathematical constant, and it reminds me of habits. 21 days is a myth for habit creation. In my experience and the research, it's 60 to 90 days. But if you think with a lot of sincerity about yourself and you draw information from your peers and you let happiness be your guide through this progression, it's amazing what can happen. Because what begins is you start to embrace uncomfortable change. This guy no longer represents something so daunting. He represents victory as you start to create new and better habits around what matters most to you, what you've been avoiding for some time. And as you start to acquire little victories and new opportunities, this guy, he goes literally right in the center of your bed as a symbol of the fact that you were able to do that. Okay, so 9:34, we're doing very well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, now you just see me. So I'd like to talk a little bit further and apply this to Rotary. Now, think of it. Even your clubs are like individuals. I don't know if you know this, but Stephen Covey, who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he did come out with the 8th habit. I highly recommend it. And he talked about individuals having their voice, mind, body, heart, and spirit. And organizations also have a voice as well. You know, are you aware of what needs to change within your organization? Maybe it's you individually, or you as a club, or as a district. Have you fully accepted that? What type of mechanisms can you use to accept what needs to improve and change in 2020, right now and beyond? What type of action can happen tonight after, you know, little Donnie Wilson is done doing his hour? What kind of action and first step is going to happen? Are the goals created for you? Are they meaningful? And how can you hold each other accountable within the club and within the organization as you move forward? So, you know, I mentioned 2020 a couple times. I'm not trying to minimize this, guys. You know, you have to be sensitive to every individual on this call, everyone we know, with the varied circumstances of the difficulties of life, all levels. But eventually I created a word for a reason. This one, the pandevolution. You know, the first part of the word is obviously refers to something completely devastating and unforeseen that either, you know, wrecks your business and life and your fundraising organization, whatever it is. But the second part of that word, obviously, is your ability to evolve, pivot, and change to succeed. As I was, you know, going to group after group and in meetings, it got to the point where I'm like, wow, you know, I know this is hard, and I know our job is to lift everyone up. And I was doing that too. Anyone who knows me, I'm completely driven by others and the success and well-being of other people. I'm what's called an empath. That's me. But I'm like, I'm kind of sick of playing defense. Is it okay to play offense now? Can I ask for business again? Can I challenge people again? And we started to challenge each other and get out there and succeed again. So I think that might be where we're at. You know, I'm pretty sure, you know, you're virtual through it at least the end of this year. I don't know what's, you know, in store for beyond that. A lot of us don't know. But right now, we can take action. So if I were to pick something for you to share at the end of this little talk at 7:37, it would be your ability to prospect new members and ask for these new potential members to join. And not only that, but to ask them, who else do they know who's interested in being part of something special and unique like Rotary International? So you have to know about something. A gentleman by the name of Ron Bott, who is in 7910, as we got to know each other and they asked me to put together a presentation for their district. He said, Donnie, do you realize there was a survey conducted by Rotary for Rotary about this very topic? And I'm like, okay, nope, that'd be good to know. Tell me, what happened? He said, the number one reason why people were not joining Rotary is because no one asked them to. And 80% of the Rotarians failed to ask anyone to join their club. That was shocking to me. I'm like, whoa, if there's a major opportunity right now, that would probably be it. So let's talk about it briefly. A lot of people go, God, you know, where do I begin with this? How do I find prospects, to use sales terms? And by the way, when I traveled a little bit for what was called Mended Little Hearts, when I was out there speaking to groups of parents with kids with CHD, kids who were lucky enough to survive like mine, but a lot of these parents where their kids passed, you quickly realize that a lot of the concepts that I love to share in sales education and to business owners directly apply to fundraising, identically the same. So here's the great part. Good news. The average American knows 600 people. The average Facebook user has 388 friends. I'm a firm believer in you already know everyone you need to know who can introduce you to the people you want to know. But what's missing, especially in 2020, is the conversation. It's just about a conversation. I don't know about you, but I love having them. Okay. So am I telling you like to start texting people and selling them on your club? No. Maybe go, hey, Charlene, it's been a while. I hope you and your family are well. I'd love to set up a time to chat, find out what's happening in your life, and I'd love to share what's going on with me. It could be a text. It could be a simple voice message. Facebook, if you are someone who's on Facebook, social media, 90% plus response rate on Facebook Messenger. So if you send a message through Facebook, 9 out of 10 will respond. Again, not telling you to sell them in that message with this message. It's just, no. Hey, I've looked at some of your posts. Looks like family's doing well. I'd love to set up a time to have a quick conversation and tell you about what I have going on and find out what's going on in your life. Because remember, there's a lot of people out there right now who want to give back to their community. Okay, so don't worry, you have plenty of people to prospect already. Remember, that main profile is think of people who maybe have been involved with other fundraising organizations, people who have the passion for giving back. They're already out there. Now, when you're on that conversation, there's a couple of important things that have to happen. I'm going to give you two. First of all, you need to be able to tell your story. Why did you join? Why Rotary? And by the way, I don't know if you realize this, but you already have resources right on your own website. Just so you know, it's already out there. Here's one, how to propose new members, sharing your story, how to propose a new member. There's a lot of stuff already in existence that you can find tonight. Okay, but I'm a big believer in why you though. Why did you join Rotary? What's your story? If you're still a member, why are you still here? And your ability to articulate that is important in that conversation. Okay. And then the second piece is if you're having that conversation, you let them go first. Hey man, you go first. Tell me what's up. I'd love to ask you a bunch of questions about what's happening in your life. And by the way, two little gifts I'm going to give you right now. Your two best friends are why and what else. Wow, that's great. Why is that so important in your life right now? Or what else about that do you feel I should know? A mentor taught me that like 20 years ago, and I've used it ever since. And you uncover their passion. You look for interest. So the second thing is you got to ask. When there's interest, we're not going to do the business card handoff and say, well, hey, great conversation today. Get back to me if you want to join Rotary. I think this is uncomfortable for a lot of people, but that's what we've been talking about tonight for 42 minutes. How about this instead? Listen, I've enjoyed our conversation. And based on what I'm hearing from you, I think my Rotary Club could be an outstanding match for you to give back to the community. I'd love to get the process started. How would you like to become a member of my Rotary Club today? Now, some people may say, yay, let's do it. Some may say, whoa, like me right now, I kind of have a lot going on, maybe not now, but maybe someday. So you may get some objection. That's okay. At least you ask today using language of now versus maybe someday, thousands of years from now. And if they do object, you could say, well, listen, you know what? No worries. I understand. But maybe I could pair you up with another one of my fellow Rotarians. You could find out their story. And how about this? I'll follow up with you in a week. What do you prefer, a text or a quick phone call? And I'll just reach out again just to check in and say hi. How's that sound? And when I've done that in my 23-year plus career as a professional, believe me, there's plenty of things I don't know, but I know the things I've been good at. I've never once had someone go, no, Don, you may not follow up with me, ever, ever. And you're giving yourself the next step, and you'll be able to put it in your calendar, follow up with Charlene in 1 week, 10 o'clock on Friday. She likes a text versus giving that next step away. So before I play one little video that I'd love to finish with today, I'd like someone to volunteer and you articulate to me your passion for Rotary. Tell me your story, a quick version of it, and I will give you a copy of my book for free. Do I have a volunteer? I'm looking to see someone raise their hand. Come on. Oh, I see one. I see Bob Smith. All right. Can you unmute yourself, Bob?
You're going to give me a minute.
I'm ready.
Can you hear me?
I can, sir.
All right. So I love Rotary because it's led me to opportunities I never thought I'd find. And I was pushed to join the Rotary because I had a sales job and they're like, go meet the community. And so I did. And 20 something years later, I still can't get enough of it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'd encourage everyone to join the Rotary because there's no better way to give back to other people. How'd I do?
So here's what I heard. First of all, I'm a big fan of sincerity. And when people ask me, I go sincerity in my delivery. And that was 100% sincere. You articulated it and gave me something to measure, where how many years you've been involved, why you joined, because you're a sales guy, and obviously you got the results. But then at the end, you gave me something special. It became more than I ever imagined it would be. That was a great articulation of what I like to call your value proposition. If you're in sales, you got a value proposition, right? Why you versus everyone else who does what you do. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Anyone else out there? Give them a, did you like it like I did? Give them a yes. Yes, wonderful claps. Thank you. I'm going to, Charlene, or I just got to make sure I get your address and I'd be glad to send you a book. Now, I'd like to have one more volunteer, but I want you to ask me to join. So I'm scrolling. Let's see, I'm going to go back in the other direction. I need a hand up or someone. Ask me to join, please. Are you going to make me beg? No one?
Oh, come on.
Oh, I got one. I got Dave. Dave, unmute yourself and please ask me to join Rotary. And maybe you can give me a little, little background there. Then you can give me the ask. Go for it.
Hi, Don. I heard that you were in town, and I certainly wanted to know about a great organization called Rotary. I just wanted to give you a little background information. Rotary is a worldwide humanitarian organization of men and women, business and professional people united together to serve. I joined the organization because I want to give back to the community. I want to reach beyond to do some good things in the world. My dad convinced me 50 years ago to join Rotary because he heard someone say the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of helping others. I think you're that kind of person. You're a community leader. We could use people like you to give back to the community and to do good things. I would like to be your sponsor. I would like to invite you to come to my club meeting as a guest, get to meet some of the Rotarians, and learn about some good things that we do. I think you'd be terrific. It opens up the door for your family to participate as well, because we have all kinds of projects for all kinds of people and all different kinds of causes. So I say to you, we have a four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all kinds of people involved? And I'm adding a fifth one. It should be fun for you to come to our meetings. We meet every Monday evening in a Chinese restaurant. And yes, right now there's some change, but we need people like you to jump in and help us so we can meet the needs of people in our community. I look forward to seeing you. Here's my card. You don't have to call me. I'll call you as a reminder. And I think you'll be thanking me later on for making you part of this organization.
Well,
Back
Dave,
to you, Don.
You're nuts if you think I'm going to join Rotary International. And the only way, you know why I'm saying that, right? He's got a bunch of nutcrackers behind him, does he not, on the wall? All right. So
My wife saves those, yes.
So, Dave, obviously you have tremendous passion and history with Rotary International. I just feel that maybe I'm already spread a little bit too thin in life right now. I don't know if this is going to be a good time for me.
Well, let me say this to you, Dawn. We like busy people, and busy people make terrific Rotarians. You can find some time to be able to give back to the community. I read your article in the local newspaper talking about giving back. What a terrific way to do it through Rotary. And I know that give it a try. Come to a meeting and see what it's all about. And I know you'll find that this is the organization for you.
Cool. So Dave, what I hear in David is something called assumptiveness. He is almost assuming that I'm going to give a yes eventually, and he keeps adding value to why I should say yes, because I gave him an objection, and I think he handled it pretty well. For those of you who don't have the ask that Dave has, I'm a little bit more of a believer in a very short ask. So I prepare my case that I heard what I needed to hear from you. I shared my passion. When I do ask, the one thing I would share, if I was going to give any type of critical feedback at all, is when you do ask, you wait for an answer. Because sometimes we tend to ask and then keep going. It's okay to wait and see what type of answer you get, because that's going to give you just a little bit more intel as to how they're feeling. So Charlene, can we also get David's mailing information?
Yes.
So I can send him a free book. So I see the clock is 7:51. I want to play a 1-minute video to end, but does anyone want to ask me a question or two since we have about 9 minutes to go? Does anyone have a question for me? If you do, maybe you can unmute yourself and throw it at me.
Donnie?
Raise your hand. Oh, I see. Oh, Arthur.
Hi, Donnie.
What's up, my friend? How are you?
Well, and yourself? Very
Uh,
well done tonight.
It's so nice to see you. It really is. What's up?
And likewise, after what, 20 years almost?
It's just so great to be reconnected, just like Charlene. It's fantastic. What's up?
What I'm curious about is I think you've given us some really great ideas on how to motivate ourselves for change. How do you motivate somebody else for change?
Interesting. So they say that you just can't make someone change, right? I've had people in my professional career that I coached, and I helped them go 5 times their income. And then I had some that I've coached for a couple of years, and they're still there. They just can't get it. So ultimately, they have to make that decision. My biggest leverage in helping someone else change is if I can truly find out what matters most to them, it gives me that leverage, because accountability is really about being a coach. So if you can find out the true meaning behind why a fellow Rotarian is a member and what their why is, then you have every opportunity to challenge them on it and hopefully give them maybe some education, some training as to how they can change. Because if I'm managing someone and I go, you need to get better at this, and I just let them go, I didn't help them. So you do at least have to provide some type of help. I've personally never been someone who's afraid to go to another person and go, you know what, Arthur, you're a machine with inviting new members, and I'm struggling with this. Can I watch you and watch how you do it, and maybe be on a call with you, and then maybe you can watch me and give me some critical feedback on as to how I could improve. Those have been the ways I've tried to help people evolve and change over time. But ultimately, they really got to make that decision for themselves. Yes, I know change can be uncomfortable, but we no longer run from it. We learn from it. We implement, we embrace change. We create new and better habits as an organization, as a district, and as a club, and as individuals. And the sky's the limit. Remember, you already have everything you need. You have each other. So ending exactly like my mom and dad taught me when I began, to all of you, from Arthur, who welcomed me in this year to Rotary, and to what's come of it being a part of multiple districts and sharing what I had tonight, to Charlene for believing in me. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I wish all of you health and safety and a ton of success. I want to hear the success stories going forward. But remember, the choice begins with you. I'm Don Wilson, and if you'd like to buy my book, it is on Amazon.com. What's Your Whoopee? Charlene, back to you at 7:57, 3 minutes to spare.